first up, people have lost trust in the democratic process, right? And elections themselves. So, blockchain can solve this. We think it can solve it today. Why has this not been implemented yet? And will the next major election be conducted on the chain in any capacity? Franklin, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, well, look, I mean, I will begin by saying my views are not representative of Block Party, because I'm sure I'll say things that are, maybe a little bit interesting on this show. But I think we're not using the blockchain because there's no desire to have a transparent democracy in America. Either among those in power or even necessarily among the common person. I think we were talking a little bit before the show about the desire for convenience seems to be the overriding factor in user experience from my research. Background in psychology, right? I have a master's in consumer psych, and whenever I've studied user experience, I always find that convenience tends to be top of the stack. We like low effort, low impact things as human beings. So do we really want to have a transparent election, or do we just want to believe the process works the way that we think it works, right? So that's one kind of set of questions. The other set of questions would be, do those in power want a transparent electoral process truly? I think if they did, a lot of other things would have been changed already, right, about the way the current system works. Certain aspects of the electoral college, right, certain aspects of how the actual voting takes place at a polling station. The fact that we're even still using physical ballots is kind of mind-boggling to me. We live in the modern world, and we're still using paper to vote in person. You look at during a pandemic how complicated that was, right? So I think there's a lot of different things that point me in the direction of nobody wants this, or people like us want it because we work in cryptocurrency, right? But I wonder how broad, even amongst common people, the desire for a more transparent process is. And I more importantly wonder whether people in power would even let it take place. So that's my answer.
Yes. Okay. All right. So Oren, I mean, without changing history, right? Mostly, why are we not doing this already?
From politics to medicine to finance, we see that blockchain has a lot of useful capabilities that can help us with transparency, and a lot of those in power still do not want to adopt it for their own personal reasons, usually for interest in those people who they represent. And that is what is unfortunate about this. There's a new announcement that PayPal will be integrating cryptocurrencies, and that news is new now, but we can assume that PayPal has been stocking up investments in Bitcoin and Ethereum for the past year. So it's funny how a lot of these different industries not only dismiss cryptocurrencies, but are secretly hoarding. So it is only a matter of time before things coalesce and we can have a public adoption of cryptocurrencies in such fields.
Yes. Central banks do that too. I mean, there's some pretty good evidence that some central banks have hoarded and then announce and then refute and then announce and then refute. You can look at history and see
it's the way traders, it's the way traders trade, right? Fill before shill is the line, right? So yeah. What is the rationale to believe anyone else is doing anything different?
Yes. And it needs to be stated that the whole purpose of that document that Blake has up in front of us right here is that the three big pieces, and to your point, Franklin, I think normal people want transparency. Yes, they want convenience. There is some level of they won't take certain cost for that transparency. But in certain times like now, these are the times that you can actually make things happen. And I definitely agree with Oren's point that the powers that be do not want it, and there are obvious reasons that they do not want it. And I say the power, not all of them, obviously, but we were in as a company in a trade organization meeting with government officials in the state of Washington. Right, there are notable, interesting flaws with our voting system. It's all by mail. The signatures are not on the ballot; they're on the envelope. I don't even know if that's legal, right? Can I sign a document and then say, oh, it's a legal contract with the paper that's inside? No, you can't really sign an envelope.
Yeah, that makes no
So
sense. So, yeah.
it's bizarre, and you know why? It's because they don't actually want the traceability. They will track you. You can put in your code online and say, yes, your vote made it all the way to the end point. It's like,
Right.
well, was it counted? How was it counted, right? And there are reasons that they can't because they don't have the tech. You could say, if they were being honest, they don't have the tech to do it because it's, how do you maintain an independent and what do I say, a secret ballot, right? That if I don't want you to know how I voted, but I want to be able to see my vote on the chain and know that it was actually counted the way that I voted, right? That's the main point. And with blockchain, and in particular with decentralized identity and blockchain, we can absolutely already do it. And so we bring this up, and it wasn't just me. I mean, I brought it up, but then there were 3 or 4 other people from different blockchains or different projects that all chimed in. It's like, yeah, that's actually something that's doable today. It's something that would be an amazing use case. If they're really wanting to know how can government use blockchain, it's like, well, guys, come on. This was probably in well, it was a couple of months ago, maybe. It was probably too late to do it this election. Now, I say that we could have done it. Dragonchain could have done it, but obviously with politics, that would be really rough. But it was totally thrown. It's like, nope, there's no way. It's just you don't understand how complex this is. And I know the political complexity.
I'm sure they believe that, right? I'm sure they believe that.
Well, I think they also know you don't understand how much money is in ready to be spent against this, right? Is the main thing. So
yeah,
they don't want transparency. So and it's who knows what's happening now could lead to that. I think everybody on all sides would agree that we really need a way to know that my vote was actually counted and that every other vote was actually eligible, and that anyone in the world can take part in the counting. I could go to my PC myself, pull the data, and say, "Yep, that person won." Right? That's what I want. Because then all of a sudden we're all looking at the same data, and it all has the same.
Joe, quick question for you. Before we move on to anything else. So there has been some amongst crypto people, even some caveats about using blockchain systems for voting thrown out there. Now, look, admittedly, I think you guys would have a really good shot of pulling it off because you guys are great at building enterprise level scalable systems. But there some concerns would be like if the blockchain was compromised, everyone's vote would be known, right? So I can already imagine at a conceptual level what some solutions for that might be, but I would love to get that in your own words. Like, what would be the ways that you make sure the integrity of the system is preserved?
Well, on the actual, like say 51% attacks, things like that, we use Ethereum and Bitcoin to basically counter that. There would be hundreds of millions of dollars applied, right? And the fact that it's hybrid means you can have some level of, where we don't expose, a system can legitimately not expose any of the source data until after the election is over. So people could vote all the way up to the particular time, and then after a certain amount of hash power is applied, now the whole thing can be released and everybody can look back and see, first of all, there's, let's say there's a couple of $1 billion worth of hash power applied to this entire vote. Can I trust that or not? Depends. Would China pay $1 billion to, maybe. So now I can look and see were there any chain forks on all the big chains wrapping that time. So the compromise side, on the regular side of compromise can be handled. Now, the decentralized identity part is very important. We probably don't have time to go into all of that, but all that means is nobody can even know that this is my vote unless I explicitly expose this is my public key, that is my vote, right? Which some people might do, it's atypical, but it's doable. But the main point then is that you yourself can go in and find your vote in the rolls and see that, yes, I really did vote this way.
Yeah.
There's even the potential that if you want the use case where I can change my vote up to the last minute, you can do it, because the system will be able to see that I'm replacing this single vote, which won't change. People can see that this person switched their vote 3 times. If you want, you can do that. For exposure, I don't know. I think it's funny whenever you bring a new system in, and this is the case out anywhere, that if there is a legacy system in place, which there usually is, you wouldn't believe how much politics, and it's not even something like voting. It's like, here's a system that's been around for 15 years that does a specific thing in the company, and if people say, well, here's a better way, or here's something we can add to it, you wouldn't believe the amount of politics are railed against change.
Oh, I've been there. Yeah.
I've seen it firsthand. So you can imagine this is a more of a global thing where it's a system that affects everybody, and is so horrendously applied right now. And in fact, there's a lot of people believe, and I'm one of them, that most of the features that have been added, especially in the past few years, are features to compromise the system. There's so many holes right now, and a lot of them are coming to light. Hopefully a lot of them will come to light now. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, I think there are a lot of maximalists too. I've gotten flack before, even back in 2016. I was like, you can't use it. It's not for that. And everybody's thinking, oh, this is a currency. Why would you vote with a currency? And it's like, this isn't a currency, you dumbass. So that's the whole thing. It's like maximalists just need to step back and relax. Maybe there's Bitcoin's beautiful. Bitcoin is amazing. Ethereum is beautiful, right? But there are so many other applications, and even Satoshi said that. But maximalists don't even like Satoshi anymore. So
people will be closed-minded, inevitably.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's like if it's a number go up thing, fine, live with it. Have your number, see the green candles. That's what you live for. That's all fine. That's all good. It's positive, but that's not what it's all about. That's not the reason that we're fucking here. That's not the reason that this is not. This is not world changing because we built a new way to have assets on an exchange so people could speculate. That's a good thing.
Back to the individual.
Yes, that is what this is about. Individual liberty. It's individual liberty encapsulated in software. That is the beauty of what this industry is. And any way you can apply that, and there are going to be some ways that I do not understand when I first see them, and I might think, what is that? Is that stupid? So I understand some level of that, but you have to think about what is possible with software, and then you're adding the financial component and the liberty component to it. It's mind melting and world changing. So